I'm not concerned really about threats of violence and assassination and stuff. Everybody's got to die. That's what I learned from my grandmother and my father. Mm-hmm. You don't back down because of something like that. My disqualification in many ways is an advantage for me.
How so?
Because it opens up completely new spaces for me. It allows me to completely redefine myself. And I think they've given me a gift, frankly. They don't think they realize it. My disqualification in many ways is an advantage for me.
How so?
Because it opens up completely new spaces for me. It allows me to completely redefine myself. And I think they've given me a gift, frankly. They don't think they realize it, but they have. Politics is not linear. It's like, it can suddenly go off into another direction. It's asymmetric. So I think they've given me a gift.
Here's a question that just in. India's relationship with Russia has been controversial since the war in Ukraine began. How would Congress administration handle this relationship or the situation in Ukraine differently?
I don't know if you like my answer, but I think similar to how the BJP would or did. We would be responding in a similar way to BJP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have sort of a relationship with the Russians that can't be denied. It is there. So I think our policy would broadly be similar. I've grown up with a sort of narrative about my country, Gandhian narrative, of what the country is, what it should look like, what is important. So that's what drives me. Mm-hmm. I'm not concerned really about threats of violence and assassination and stuff. Everybody's got to die. So that's what I learned from my grandmother and my father. Mm-hmm. So you don't back down because of something like that. India has a very robust system already in place. That system has been weakened, right? But it's not that system doesn't exist. If the conversation, the democratic conversation is allowed to be fostered, then these issues will settle themselves.
So the rule of law is in place. It just perhaps isn't followed.
No, it's you have to have an independent set of institutions that are not pressurized and controlled, and that's been the norm in India. This is an aberration. What is taking place in India. So from our perspective, the foundations of democracy in India are very strong. And the protections exist, but they're being sort of disturbed. There is a weakening of press freedoms. This is not hidden. Everybody knows it. It's apparent in India. The rest of the world can see it. And I think press freedom is very, very critical for a democracy. One should be open to criticism, and one should listen to criticism. That's the feedback loop that builds democracies. And definitely there is a weakening of press freedom. And it's not just press freedom. It's on multiple axes. On multiple axes, there is a clampdown on the institutional framework that allowed India to talk, that allowed the Indian people to negotiate. Because India has always had a tradition of conversation, of openness. All our great leaders, spiritual, political, Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, all of them promoted harmony, promoted peace, promoted conversation. So it's in our culture, it's in our history to sort of bring people together and have these dialogues. So that's, I think it's a difference in ideology between us and the BJP. Mm-hmm. We feel India should be allowed to express itself. And we feel that political leaders should be comfortable in sort of being questioned and should learn from that questioning. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just a difference in viewpoint. The opposition is pretty well united, and I think it's getting more and more united. We're having conversations with all the opposition, mm-hmm. And I think quite a lot of good work is happening there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a complicated discussion because there are spaces where we are competing also with the opposition. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of give and take is required, but I'm confident that will happen.
So given the electoral strength of the BJP, would Congress now be willing to consider being part of a coalition government that it does not lead?
Well, I mean, these are questions that need to be asked to the Congress president because he's the decision maker. I think the Congress party will do very well in the next election. Mm-hmm. I think it'll surprise people because I think there is a hidden undercurrent building, and I think will surprise people. And I'm not entirely convinced about this idea that Mr. Narendra Modi is going to win the 24 elections. I think it's not as simple as people make out. If you just do the math, a united opposition will defeat the BJP on its own, mm-hmm. without any electoral math. I think there's a fight on in India. There are two visions of India. There is the vision that the BJP has. It's a centralizing vision. It's a polarizing vision. Mm-hmm. And then there's another vision, equally strong. In fact, if you ask me, much stronger, but not expressing itself that effectively right now, which is a decentralized view, an embracing vision, a sensitive, compassionate vision. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is a transitional phase, and the true nature of India, the true democratic nature of India, compassionate nature of India will triumph. I have no doubt in my mind. And by the way, we've gone through this phase before. So it's not that it's a new thing. The Congress party faced this exact same thing in the 30s and we decimated it. And we will do the same again. People are impatient, People are like, very impatient. BJP has been in power for 10 years. Well, okay, we were in power for 10 years before that. Why did nobody say, in UPA 2, when we had been in power for 8 years, why did nobody say, oh my God, the BJP is going to evaporate? Mm-hmm. After all, the same, we were in power for 10 years. So there is a tendency for the media to sort of exaggerate these things. There are reasons for it also. But we are committed to the democratization of India. And we are committed especially to the emancipation of the poor people of India, the lower castes, backward castes, these communities. Mm-hmm.